Hi, everybody. Very good afternoon to all. Ramadan Kareem. I am Dr. Arpita Mehrotra, faculty in business with Westford University College. And on behalf of the student fraternity and staff, I extend a very warm welcome to all our participants and our esteemed guests to this webinar. We Connect, which is enabled now virtually to among all of us through Westford webinar series, is an initiative by Westford University College, which aims to connect industry leaders and experts, not just with academic community, but with diverse audience on a diverse platform. This is a relentless effort by the institution to explore industry trends across modern day organizations. And our goal is to bring the brighter minds to share their opinions, which are idea focused on a very wide range of subjects, along with fostering the learning and inspiration. We are here, and all the industry leaders that we have been connecting so far, to connect with you all through the journey, through their own experiences, sharing their learning and expertise. And most importantly, to provoke conversations that matter. And now that is the reason we all are here to discuss on the global trends of fintech in times of pandemic. Fintech, the technology and digitization of businesses is no longer nice to have, but it is a necessity in a business capacity as well as for personal banking, trading. The COVID-19 outbreak has presented many logistical challenges. For financial services, firms looking to operate their business with employees working from home, and distinguishing line is now being drawn between companies which have digitized their business and those languishing with outdated methods and technologies. This is the time to say it is a classic case of haves and have-nots for modern time, isn't it? COVID-19 crisis will no doubt be a transformative period across the world. Never before has fintech been so critical to operational business, and now the need for tech in banks and financial service organizations is being exposed. Therefore, being a faculty myself in finance and strategy, it is enriching to understand the significance of this topic today and its relevance in the present scenario. It is my privilege to introduce our eminent speaker for the event, who is right here with us, Ms.Raja Mazrouei, whose efforts in bringing finance and technology together is remarkable. Before we were starting live, we had some amazing conversation. She's a visionary and influential figure. Let me introduce you a very brief about her, which is absolutely impressive. Listen to it. She's a visionary and influential figure within the finance and technology sectors. Her entrepreneurial spirit and passion for progression has been the driving force behind her achievements. She continues to fulfill her ambition to help reinforce the UAE's position on the global stage. With over a decade of experience in financial services sector, she has been able to develop an ecosystem for financial technology entrepreneurs in Dubai that has been a primary contributor in the Emirate. And that is being named a top 10 global fintech hub, no less. Her expertise in marketing and communication has enabled her to bring brands to life and foster communities in order to create business opportunities and societal impact. Not the less, throughout her career, she has held senior positions within IT, operations, marketing teams at Dubai Holding, National Bonds Corporation, Dubai International Financial Center, DIFC Authority. Her team and time working with these organizations has exposed her to culture, system, and practice that have shaped her ethos as a leader and a pioneer in her field. Wow. Today, she stands at the helm of one of the region's most successful financial technology hubs and has contributed significantly towards building a vibrant and dynamic community of over 200 FinTech, RegTech, and insurTech firms operating in DIFC. As Executive Vice President of FinTech Hive, she brings together leading financial institutions, government entities, technology partners, and entrepreneurs to realize a common goal in driving towards UAE national innovation agenda and shaping the future of financial services. The rapid growth of fintech under her leadership has been recognized on a global scale, with it being ranked one of the world's best financial innovation labs. In addition, she has been named one of the top 100 women in fintech by Innovate Finance, the 50 most influential women in Middle East finance by Dow Jones Financial News. And keep listening, the top 100 powerful businesswomen in Middle East by Forbes. She is an executive graduate of Harvard Business School, serves as a member of HBS MENA region and Central Asia Advisory Board, and she is the vice president of HBS Club. That's interesting, for GCC region. In addition, she holds position on the boards of Dubai FinTech Ventures and Al Masraf Arab Bank for investment and foreign trade. Wow, that's amazing. I told you off stage also, this is very impressive. And therefore, before we start talking to her, before we have a lot of queries to ask her, I welcome you all. I can see a lot of comments already for good afternoon and everybody. Before we commence, a quick review. Please be informed that you can use the chat box to communicate with us about your doubts and queries. And while you have questions, try post it in the QA section, and ma'am will address these questions after she has shared her expert opinions. I am so excited, Ms. Raja, to explore and to listen to your ideas. Thank you so much for being around. Absolutely your stage now. Thank you. Over to you, please.
Thank you, Dr. Arpita. Appreciate your kind words, and it's really my pleasure to be here with you today and with the students from Westford to share a little bit of my knowledge and experience, and hoping to inspire these students who are figuring out their future to combine the best of all worlds and come up with their own tech startups and to be part of the new future that we are looking forward towards. I have a presentation that I would like to go through, and then maybe towards the end we can have the questions if anyone has any questions. So one day we wake up and the world was closed. This was not normal. We started listening to news. There's this pandemic, there's this virus that's moving from one person to another. Some governments are acknowledging this and some governments are denying this, and we were not sure of what was going on. But what we were sure of is that we had to protect ourselves and our families, and we had to stay home. The minute the country started shutting down the borders, we knew that this is serious and we really have to think about what's happening and deal with it. Suddenly the stores were closed and we're all wearing these masks, and we couldn't be with our loved ones and family sitting close to each other and sharing a meal as we used to, and we had to wear the gloves and the masks to do any transaction. And suddenly the cash that was king has become the enemy, because these viruses were living on these notes and they were transferred from a person to another and became a risk to our life and our health. So to figure that out, countries have put in lots of measures, and we are very lucky to be in the UAE because it has been one of the most active countries in shutting down the borders and isolating and preparing the infrastructure and the health system. On top of that, putting in stimulus packages for institutions, companies, startups, bank guarantees to help these companies to survive during this pandemic. If we look at the market overview so far, the cumulative loss of global GDP over 2020 and 2021 from this pandemic is around $9 trillion. That's greater than the economies of Japan and Germany combined. The coronavirus economic could cost 47 million jobs and send the unemployment rate to past 32% in the US. The Asia-Pacific region could face a permanent job loss of $620 billion. The pandemic caused up to 50 million jobs in global travel and tourism industries. US retailers are seeing losses up to $700 million from March 9 to April 20 from production to transportation shortages. And we have already seen all of the big retailers closing down and filing for bankruptcy to protect their businesses. Central banks of different countries have injected a total of $14 trillion as part of their efforts to mitigate the challenge that is posed by the novel coronavirus pandemic. This crisis has impacted every single sector globally, and an economic contraction and recession has been predicted by the World Trade Organization. If you look at the world output, and you will see the numbers where the GDP is actually impacting, we can see the major hit going towards the advanced economies of the US and Europe. Emerging markets and developing economies will probably survive this because them being the greatest economies so far, but hopefully in 2021, we will start to see a little bit of recovery of these economies. While we have been in lockdown, and by the way, this is my 8th week lockdown in my house, we have noticed booming industries amidst and post the COVID-19, which is changing the whole future of the world as we know it. Digital streaming and content creation has boomed. There's a lot of businesses that were able to shift their interaction, physical interaction, to digital. So there are a lot of webinars like the one we're in today with all of the students became possible to continue the conversation and to continue the education and to continue this relationship. So we can see digital streaming industries booming to enable all of that. Telehealth and telemedicine has become an important tool because we could not leave our homes to go to the hospital for any reason. Unless you had the virus, you couldn't go because you could risk your health worse than getting the virus just by going to see a doctor. So telehealth, where you can call any clinic and get a virtual consultation, has become available, and this will continue. All of these are changing consumer behaviors, and once we get there, we will not go back to the old way of doing things in our life. Online gaming continues to grow because it's a collaborative and entertaining platforms. I have 2 kids and they are playing online games all the time. And I think that's good because otherwise they would be stressed out from being locked in the house for the longest time. E-commerce continues to grow. It has enabled the availability of all the merchandise on all the different platforms. And in Dubai, we saw how Dubai Mall has shifted most of the stores on noon.com in a very significant time period to enable consumers to reach their requirements. Teleworking continues. Teleworking actually is something that happened seamlessly and quickly because companies needed to continue working, but we couldn't go to the office. And the best technology transformed companies were able to switch their companies to digital, and we were able to log in and continue working from home within a matter of days. The DIFC was one of the very first companies to switch to teleworking, and everyone was able to adapt to using the different tools. So in a day, I would use probably 4 tools. I would use Zoom, Teams, and the Hangouts to do all these meetings, while few months back, I would go to meetings to do all of that. So that brought in a lot of effectiveness and efficiency. Online grocery delivery, I am sure all of you have been through the situation where you're ordering online, and this continues to boom. Meditation and mindfulness has become a very important one as well, because looking at countries like the US, for example, New York, where people are living in small apartments and they used to spend most of their time outside, they become stressed of being isolated. So apps like Manspace and many others and Calm are becoming very popular to help people accept and realize and de-stress and so forth. Obviously, health and fitness applications became very popular. And finally, cashless payment. And I put that at the end to actually take me to my next slide. Cashless payments became very important, and contactless payment became very important, because I don't want to take the risk of exchanging a note or a coin or anything to protect myself. So we have seen that all of these companies have the payment online, or they bring the point of sale, or using your Apple Pay to do all of these payments. Fintech markets have been hit by the COVID virus, just like everything else. There was a surge in activities in the fintech market in general, and we have started to notice a drop in the fintech funding towards the first quarter of 2020. And the number of fintech deals as well has dropped to 2016 levels. However, with this pandemic, we realized that company valuations has been more realistic, because before COVID, all of these companies were very ambitious and raising funds to tackle the growth. And I think the COVID-19 put everyone back into realistic expectations. So if any of you are interested to invest in fintech companies, this is the right time, because this is the time when you will find realistic valuations for these startups who have been booming the last couple of years. If we look at the fintech market map, and I'm sorry if I speak and assume everyone knows the whole fintech industry, the fintech market map looks at 6 major areas within financial services. And these are banking tech, and that looks at banking software, business intelligence, security solutions, challenger banks solutions within the banking tech. And I'll take you in details through each one of them. Then we look at insurTech. And insurTech, we look at digital insurance, we look at insured solutions, and we look at insurer solutions. RegTech is the area where we look at risk and compliance, reporting, anti-fraud solutions, and KYC solutions. Then we look at payments infrastructure, and here we look at the enablers, the B2B payment solutions, and the B2C consumer solutions. Then we look at lending, and in lending, we look at credit scoring, crowdfunding, B2B lending, and consumer lending. And finally, investment tech. And investment tech, we look at mid and back office solution, wealth management solutions, alternative investment solutions, and trading. So what is the impact assessment of these key markets in the fintech space? I will take you through each one of these areas. If we look at the banking tech, so the banks had to adapt to the situation, operate with 30% of their employees within the branches to continue to enable the economy to continue operating. And they were under stress to provide digital effective services to their clients in a timely manner. Now, not all the banks are digitally transformed or the highest in tech. So open banking remains a top priority because open banking enables these banks to collaborate with fintech solutions and fintech technologies to provide these services to the customers and tap into this customer base and not lose their clients. So open banking is an important element of the banking tech that has been important and continues to be important for banks to remain competitive in these times. Operations delivery is, again, all products and services that the clients need to access through mobile banking, through chatbots, because you can't go to the branch anymore. And you can't wait for someone to answer your call and answer your queries. So the banks has to have all these digitized tools that are based on artificial intelligence or machine learning, looking at your history, predicting your requirements before you even ask for it. This has become another opportunity for the banking software. And cybersecurity has become more important than ever because we're all shifting to this digital world. And we all need to make sure that our clients' data is protected and secure within these infrastructures. Then we look at the impact assessment of insurTech. And insurTech covers basically the digitization solutions which utilize AI, IoT, and computer vision, big data to optimize the operational efficiencies. If you look at the insurTech in particular, the world post-COVID or the world with COVID is completely different than the world before, especially for insurers, because how many people got the virus and did not have medical insurance? And what type of insurance is there to protect them? And how many people rushed to buying insurance policies to protect them as the outbreak of this virus has started? So there are areas in insurTech that has a lot of opportunities for these segments. One of them is policy support. We're dealing with a new thing. So there needs to be policy support solutions to support the insurance industry and regulation in general to enable innovative solutions in terms of these regulations to be available to the public. Then the customer engagement. There is a high dependence on digital solutions that would enable the insurers provide the right insured amount to these people based on their health and fitness information and history. There is a lot that the Internet of Things is providing us today, and the wearables to predict the temperature, the heart rate, and all of that. And that would enable micro-insurance or insurance on demand or even long-term insurance to be provided based on realistic data. And then insurance comparison. Since everyone has access to technology and everyone needs to upgrade their insurance in these times, everyone started to search of the different insurance solutions that are available and started to going to aggregators that would provide parallel insurers and with a deep dive towards the products and services and what is included and what not. So the opportunity for insurance comparison platforms has also increased. Then we look at the area of RegTech. And in RegTech is the regulatory technology, where you look at reporting, you look at risk compliance, anti-fraud, and KYC. And this has become, again, more important than ever because you need to verify your customers when they're staying at home. They cannot bring in their slip, their payment slip, the proof of their assets. You need to be able, as an institution, to tap into this information electronically from verified sources. So investment and banking solutions need to access know your customer solutions that are on the blockchain, that are verified, that are available to onboard these clients on the systems in a very efficient, seamless, and secure way. Then we look at AI-based AML, and AML is anti-money laundering. And this is very important in times like these, because again, your classic way of running these reports has changed. You have shifted from a normal world to a digital world, and you need to make sure that all of these anti-fraud solutions are innovative, are utilizing the top technology to identify patterns or algorithms that would minimize your risk as an institution. And then in staff monitoring, you start looking at the checkers and makers. So for example, in the bank, you would have certain measures to make sure that the person who is doing activity A does not interact with the person who's doing activity B. But where are these people now? They're all working from home, and this staff monitoring becomes more important. Even your audit requirements or audit cycles will change based on that to make sure that there is no conflict of interest in the way the staff are managing the bank's issues. Then we look at data privacy, which is very important for these individuals, and you need to assure the clients and customers that their data is secure and safe within these institutions. If you look at what happened to Zoom, as soon as everyone shifted online, there was a hack into the data privacy, the customers' data, and that really impacted the company. So it becomes more than ever important to assure all of the privacy measures are there. And again, this is a trend that is going to be very important as we go forward. And then finally, risk management. Again, these tools will enable the assurance of risk compliance due to micro and macro uncertainties that you would not really think of in a normal setting. Then we look at the payments infrastructure. So wallets are needed much more than ever before, because you don't want to deal with cash and you want to be able to pay your bills and transfer money to your family, receive funds for services that you have provided. And not everyone can go to the bank and get a point of sale. So these wallets makes it easy for consumers to conduct daily businesses. Contactless payments, again, using the tap card or the Apple Watch or the iPhone, the iPay with the iPhone, these really helped during the pandemic, because you don't want to, again, exchange and be in a close proximity of others who might be infected. And finally, routing. So there is a lot of technology that is becoming an opportunity for intelligent payment routing solutions. Then we look at lending. And when you look at lending, first of all, SME lending. So SME sector is important to the growth of all economies. And they are the first to be hit with a crisis like this. So the governments, along with the numerous financial institutions, are providing emergency loans and subsidies to support the SMEs to ensure the business continuity. So there is a lot of opportunities to create these platforms that monitor and provide assurance of the right lending of these startups. Then we look at the line of credit. As we are going through this pandemic, I am sure that most of these companies would need access to lines of credit, and then you will need, as an institution, technologies and tools to monitor and control the flow of credit, and also to have all the risk measures in place to assure that the line of credit is offered as per required. And then we look at crowdfunding, and we have seen a lot of donation-based crowdfunding has been raised by companies and retailers and restaurants who wants to remain in business. So we have seen a lot of platforms like GoFundMe or others that the consumers or the retailers are using to raise funding to support their businesses. Finally, we look at the impact assessment of the investment tech. First, robo-advisory. So with robo-advisory remains the opportunity for you from the comfort of your home to have access to investment opportunities without being tied to a financial institution. And there are a lot of solutions in the market today that provide that, but that became in demand, especially with the market volatility that is going on right now. Personal finance management, with all of this uncertainty that is surrounding us, everyone is trying to figure out their personal finance management, their financial goals, their saving goals, how is this being impacted? So there are a lot of tools that provide this, and this is becoming an important area for financial planning for FinTech to really grow and boom during 2020. And then finally, trading, which is online platforms. Because of the economic shift and unpredictability in gas and oil, commodities, or currency, there is opportunity for online platforms to grow and provide these services to the clients. Then we look at, based on what I have shared with you, we have identified the top 6 fintech trends that are gaining traction during this crisis. If we look at, it's all about digital and branchless banking, AI-powered chatbots for customer service, open banking APIs, mobile and conversational banking. This is the first trend. The second one is the data analytics and ML-enabled insurance management, focusing on AI-powered insurance management solutions and internet-first insurance providers using direct sales solution. Then we have the tech-enabled digital lending, and this will be focused on specialized digital SME lending, which is another trend that we look at. And then we look at digital payments and smart payment routing solutions for quicker online payments, contactless solutions, and digital open wallets and e-wallets for payments. And then AI-powered RegTech solutions, and this will be artificial intelligence-based, machine learning-powered KYC, identity validation, and anti-money laundering solutions, data privacy and transaction tracking. And finally, data analytics-based wealth advisory, where you start looking at personal finance management, such as robo-advisors, saving advisors, automated expense management, and internet-first trading platforms. So these are our top 6 fintech trends that are gaining tractions during this pandemic. I hope this was clear or useful to the audience, and I am happy to open the floor for questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Raja. Thank you. That was really informative. We are open for questions. So, yes, we had an amazing conversation leading to data analytics, branchless banking, tech-enabled digital lending. So we have any questions coming up for her? That's where the important part lies. Meanwhile, Ms. Raja, I was thinking, because I was seeing, so I thought maybe I would have a little query at the end. When just an advice, in sense that when you say robot advisory services, wouldn't the depletion of the human intervention at times might not lead to the kind of an effect that we actually look for in terms of advisory being given by the human versus the robotic intervention? Don't you think it will just decline that human touch, and eventually it might just deplete that part of advisory? What do you think on it?
Not necessarily. I think the robo-advisors, first of all, enables normal individuals like you and me to invest our money in certain markets without having the commitment to open a wealth management account of minimum X $100,000 and have a dedicated person to manage your portfolio. If you go to any bank today and you want to invest 10,000 dirhams, they would not look at you because it's going to cost them so much to invest that. If you go with 100 to 200,000, they probably, and they'll charge you a lot of fees because there is an individual that is sitting and monitoring all the markets and all the numbers. With the robo-advisors, you're building all of that intellect into that system. And then you also set your preferences. So if you are investor or you are or you don't want risk, you want a very risk averse approach, they will adjust your preferences and attach you to these investments. You can say, I want to invest in bonds or real estate, I'm not interested in commodities or currencies. So based on your preference, that robo will advisor will actually match you to these tools, and you will be able to invest as little as $500 from the comfort of your home. And by the way, we have a company in FinTech Hive, it's called Mazroeui, and they started from scratch. And they're a robo-advisor, and I've been investing with them since they have launched. I was just curious to see how it works. And I'm really happy that I've actually took that opportunity because I'm in control. And if I want to draw my money, I can do it any minute, and I can monitor my portfolio at any time.
So indeed, that means the technology intervention is going to be more effective and more driven by a proper algorithm, I can say. Yes, I think we have one question here, which is from Mumtaz. So she wants some insights in the cyber security threats that we banks face in current digital banking environment. The cyber security threats, yes.
So with everything shifting digital and you having your information on your phone and on your laptop, and if you don't have all the security measures in place, you are actually prone to identity theft or bank account theft or online banking theft. And that could lead to a hack into the systems that are in these banks, and all of that consumer data would be stolen. And that's a risk that nobody wants to take at all, because that jeopardizes the institution's position. And that's why we see all the financial institutions have a very, very strict cybersecurity policy that protect all of the information. I don't know if you've seen about 10 days ago or a week ago, there was a problem with the mail app on the iOS. And there was a notification that there's a problem, remove it. Because if they hack into that mail, they access all your social media, all your bank accounts, all of the information. And today you carry this phone and it has your credit card, it has your bank account, it has your investment profile. So it's really important to protect that data. Otherwise, if it's lost, then you've lost the customers. They will never come back.
Right. So I think that Mumtaz helps your answer, indeed. Another question we have from Suresh. What is your view on blockchain-based solution for telecommuting and other lending solutions? The significance of blockchain.
So the blockchain in general is a very useful solution, provided that you want a single version of the truth, because that's what it does, right? It assures you that this record is verified. So in telecommuting and other lending solutions, definitely you want to keep a track of all of these transactions on a platform that you will never lose, because the blockchain is all over the web. And it's all over these servers. So it is important. However, in telecommuting, I am not sure how it will impact, because we see a lot of startups that come with an amazing solution using the blockchain, but then we say, but what is the problem that the blockchain is solving? This is always the question that we try to do. In identity theft, if the identity is in the blockchain, you are sure that that will not happen, because it is stored and verified and nobody can manipulate these records.
That helps much, Suresh, I think. Another we have is from Nipun. One component that many firms and clients will probably have reliability issues with is the emerging AI-powered RegTech solutions, your regulatory solutions, particularly with growing cybersecurity. So what should be your advice to such stakeholders?
So, in this time, more than ever, you have seen that you are dealing with a digital world. And with a digital world, you need to have the top technology that supports all of your transactions. So you cannot go back to verifying using documents anymore. Everything is on the web. Everything is on the cloud. And as institutions need to make sure that whatever data is coming in is reliable and verified. So for that, they need to work with solutions that has been developed to verify the origin of all of these documents, the origin of all of these information, and make sure that it's accurate. Because one mistake really could impact the whole institution negatively.
Yes. I hope that helps, Nupun, right? So yes, it is about technology. One more question. Here it goes. What are the steps to protect our investments during this pandemic? That's the question from Mohammed Alkar. That's a very specific question. What are the steps to protect the investments during this pandemic?
I think you guys need to tell me, right? You have Dr. Arkita teaching you at Westford. So honestly, just make sure that you are investing in the right portfolios. Now the market is very volatile. So if you have that risk appetite, you can bet on certain stocks or certain markets and invest in them. But if you don't have that risk appetite, I would say just stick to known commodities like gold or something like that. So it really depends on your preference, your behavior, and your risk appetite.
Yes, indeed. It largely depends on the risk appetite. Absolutely. And many of them might not even be willing to invest money at such point of time. Very interesting. Another question we have, Ms.Raja, is from Anshu. She says, what would be your advice for entrepreneurs post-pandemic regarding financing their business?
So with regards to financing your business, I always tell the startups and entrepreneurs is bootstrap as much as you can and stay away from institutional investors until you are ready. When you bootstrap on your own and you prove to yourself and your friends and family that have supported you and funded you that this system, this technology is scalable, then you can go to the angel investors who are not expecting major returns in a short period of time. And usually you go from bootstrapping to angel investors and raising that capital. Once you see traction with your platform and you can see that there is this deal that's going to take you from 100 to 10,000, then you go to venture capitalists who will help you grow so quickly, but they will be waiting there to see the returns. So, and before you do that, make sure that you are developing your startup in one of the booming sectors.
Indeed, indeed. And I think one of the things that you also mentioned that in due course of time, the crowd funding might also work for the entrepreneurs and these startups. So yes, I think post the pandemic, many platforms could then be explored. Indeed,
there are actually a couple of crowdfunding platforms. I think there's one called Beehive and Eureka, and they fund startups. But
yes.
There are many. I would stick to family, friends, and angels until I am ready for that growth hike.
Growth hike, yeah. Yeah, but I think that also comes with a lot of clauses in between when you rely on the friends and the peer lending. Yeah. All right. We have another one from Sana. She says, please advise if and how fintech will help in the introduction of Bitcoin if it is introduced by central bank.
So there are a lot of companies that are in the UAE currently, and they are investing in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is an electronic currency. And then if the central bank recognize this as an electronic currency, which I don't think they will, that's my own opinion, then that coin you will be able to use it in all of your digital transactions. I think that the central bank or the governments are trying to create their own version of their digital currency to eliminate the cash and also to ease all of these processes and transactions. However, it's not necessarily the Bitcoin because it has not. The Bitcoin is a bit controversial because it's not tied to an asset. It's the value of the Bitcoin is based on speculations, and mainly the investors are raising the value of the Bitcoin or reducing it right now. And you wouldn't want a coin that one day is 1,000, a second day is 100.
Correct. I think, I think because of being less regulated, and it is indeed a very questionable thing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very true. Another, we have a very interesting question again. It is based on investments, and I think that's what people are willing to explore more. That's from Raya. During this pandemic, is it a good idea to invest in the stock markets? If so, which industry do you think is the strongest?
Well, I think it's definitely a good opportunity to invest in the stocks market, but I wouldn't tell you which stock market or which stock. But if you look at the UAE compared to global markets, I think the opportunities are different. And then if you look at what's booming now is healthcare or groceries or logistics. So you really need to analyze the region you are in, the country you are in, and the industries that are operating. Look at some historical data and look at COVID-related period numbers and make your decision based on that. Otherwise, get a robo-advisor, which is much easier. They will do the calculations for you.
Absolutely, and can bring in more efficiency in your investment decisions, isn't it? And I think, large of people's appetite to take the risk and how much they are willing to invest in the volatile market also influences their choices for investments. Indeed, that was very, very interesting and very insightful. Do we have any further questions to be explored? Any further queries that you would like Ms.Raja to answer for you? Yes. I'm sure many of the students might be exploring later. So I would ask on their behalf, how do you think, when we speak of fintech, which is so important? Oh, before I ask, we have another question here. How can we leverage fintech to finance infrastructure projects in developing countries? Like, for example, power generation, transport, while simultaneously providing safe yields to the investors.
So
I'll just publish this question so you'll also be able to read. Yes.
So the fintech solutions, they need to be either regulated or sort of the government needs to be aware of their existence. So mainly collaboration. When you collaborate as a fintech solution with a financial institution or with a government entity, then you get that support to be part of these projects. And that's what we encourage at the FinTech Hive. We always look at partnership and collaboration with other institutions, and we encourage them to work with the fintech because the fintech startups have the innovation, have the mindset, have the agility and the speed to go to market, which these entities and banks struggle with because of their complex structure. So they can benefit each other through these partnerships.
That's very insightful. Anything else do we have as queries to ask her? I think more questions are driven wherein everybody's trying to explore how investor sentiment and how we are ready to prepare and for the kind of risk that we all are taking in. I think on behalf of everybody, I can just ask one question more. Okay, there's a question from Vimal, and the question is: do you think a robot can fully understand the need of a customer if it replaces a human being in listening to the questions of customers? I think that's what we started our conversation with.
There is no robot that would come that would be able to understand a human mind, right? Because they are programmed by other humans, and that's what artificial intelligence and machine learning is doing. When you have this robot listening to all the contact center calls that come to the bank, the different kind of queries, the different kind of answers to 10,000 or 20,000 customers, then you're building a database, a repository of possible solutions that this person is going to call and complain about. So he would be able to learn from that behavior and answer to 70 to 80% of your queries. The remaining 20 or 30, you will have to get in contact with a human to help you through that issue. They will never replace humans. However, they are a tool that is available for us to get rid of the things that don't excite us anymore. I don't want to pick up the phone. I don't want to answer the same question every day, every hour. I rather have the robot does that and I do the more exciting work.
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Interesting one is, do you think post-COVID, medtech will evolve?
Absolutely. It's already evolving right now because people have access to doctors all over the world without the need of traveling. There is this personalized care that you can get from the best doctors, and you can combine the different views and then find a place for treatment. So this sector in specific is highly being disrupted as we speak.
Yeah, indeed. And anything else you all have queries to support your opinion or express your opinions and probably have something more to ask from her? And meanwhile, how do you think, Ms.Raja, because there are more of students who are still looking for jobs, let's say, or there are working executives who are, in these times of cost reductions and more focusing towards of the top line increase, how do you think the people can prepare themselves for a job market which is during pandemic and post-pandemic? How do you think? What are the skill sets during this fintech times people should focus?
So definitely digital skills are important more than ever. We run a social distancing challenge at the FinTech Hive, and we've asked startups to submit their ideas, and we will help them if their solutions were important or innovative. And some of the solutions that are really based on a skill set. So you don't need to be hired as a full-time employee to go do a graphics work for a certain company. You can be a freelancer, and we will see these platforms that enable talent to connect with jobs. So we'll see a marketplace where the job is posted, and you as a designer or a developer can post your fee for that job, and then based on your review and your experience and your past work will be awarded these jobs. So the world post COVID the work world won't look like what we do today. And as you saw in the UAE, we shifted to working from home. And then a couple of weeks later, the Department of Human Development and Talent Development issued the law of working from home, which we never had before. So now working from home is actually a normal thing to do. And I believe by the time we go back to the office, we will have the option to work from home, work from the office, or do a 50-50. And then also the pay attached to these would differ.
Yeah, I think that kind of a skill sets to pace yourself at the market is absolutely important. We have one more question here. Do you think fintech is a competition to other finance institutions like money exchange houses, or otherwise will it be a threat to the existence of these sections already present? Will it be a threat?
I don't think it would be a threat. It's an enhancement. It's definitely eating small pieces of the markets of the big players. But collaboration between the institutions and the fintechs makes the biggest impact on the consumer. And that's the approach that we encourage and we continue to see evolving in the relationship between the startups and the financial institutions.
Indeed, that's very interesting because yes, absolutely, and that recalls our conversation also during the initials of the session that yes, the collaboration, the integration of different existing functions with the new tech is very important. Before anybody has any other question, I think the last weekend I just have a query basically on behalf of everybody I can ask you is, we spoke about the peer lending, we spoke about the angel investors, and we said that yes, the startups can look for crowdfunding even post-pandemic as well. How do you think these venture capitalists could play a very important role in this era of innovation when we are trying to bring in technology in the finance domain? The venture capitalists.
So the venture capitalists actually play a very important role in currently funding the startups. We launched the FinTech Hive back in 2017, and we built an ecosystem, and we have about 15 to 20 funding partners that are part of our ecosystem. What these funding partners do, they join our programs, they speak to the startups, and they start looking for opportunities for investments, because our goal is to launch startups from the region and enable them access biggest market portion globally. And we will support them with the funding they require here, because we have a lot of funding in this part of the region compared to the rest of the world. However, it is not utilized enough. But we have been seeing a lot of investments went into fintech specifically in the past couple of years, and we expect that only to grow. The economy recognized the importance of the small, medium enterprises and the role they play, and that's being supported top down.
Yeah. That's very true, and that is what one of our personnel says. Collaboration is the way to go, but in most African setting, especially in Nigeria, the bank still sees fintech firm as a threat. And hence this rally with the regulator not to open up the space to allow the mobile money and fintech firms to play in this space. But yes, I think we're still evolving.
Their choice, as we have seen, these regulations are evolving all over the world and eventually will come here. We have seen open banking has been fought by all the banks. They did not want open banking, but it's being available in the UK, and the global regulators will enforce all the governments and countries to adopt to these regulations. So they are coming, and you better be prepared with your technology to nail that market.
Right. So when you say this, so is it like that more, the developing, the emerging nations will react better to accommodating the fintech part, or is it the capital-oriented developed nations are going to just take on with it? Or is it, yes?
It depends. And if you look at the emerging countries, you look at financial inclusion is a very big problem. We have a lot of people that don't have bank accounts. They cannot pay the fees of the banks to maintain a bank account. A challenger banks come in and say, hey, I'll open an account for you. All that you have to do is go to the local grocer, top up your account from there. And he makes this available. And he's able to onboard 100,000 customers in a single area that the bank would take 2 to 3 years to bring on board. But even the bank does not look at it as a revenue-making segment. So the fintechs are really competing in the areas that are being ignored by the financial institutions to start with. And once they build their credibility, they will be able to compete with the banks. So the banks, and what we have seen in the UAE, and I have to be honest with this, we have seen a lot of collaboration. So in our program, over the last 3 cohorts, we brought about 85 companies in our accelerator program. And from these 85, we have generated about 100 proof of concepts. And there are about 20 products launched in the UAE market today by the banks in collaboration with fintech startups from the FinTech Hive.
Right.
So the banks are open towards that collaboration. They realize the importance of it. They cannot be ignorant.
Excellent. That's really very fulfilling. And do we have anything more to explore? I think this 1 hour has been really enriching, and especially I personally loved interacting with you, and it was very insightful. Here it blinks. Just one more question we have. What is your view of financial institutions' transformation initiatives post-COVID? Do they need to revisit on the strategy?
So the financial institutions has been under this pressure for the past few years because of fintech, and because of COVID, it's just accelerating their transformation. Digital transformation is more important than ever, and COVID has made it a reality for all the ignorant institutions that said, no, we don't need technology. They know today more than ever that they need the technology because that's the future, and the COVID is accelerating that.
Right, right. I think COVID is going to see a different world altogether after we are over with this. Absolutely. I think this is something we've already discussed, the impact of fintech on evolving economies. I think we've already said that yes, they are going to take up, and it also largely depends on how we are taking up the investments. I think that's the questions we had for today. And
Dr. Arpita, thank you so much for your time, for your moderation. I admire the work you guys do, especially with Westford and educating the students and helping them be ready for the future. Instead of going the traditional way, you're actually looking for leaders to come and speak, to inspire the students, because you want to build that talent from the UAE. And we truly appreciate all of the work that you do. And I'm really grateful for having the opportunity to come and speak to the students. I appreciate all of your time. And I'm sorry if I took very long to explain. I was trying to share as much as I can in the 1 hour I had. But please follow our social media accounts and keep on following the news from the startups. You never know where the inspiration for you is going to come
absolutely. Absolutely. And I would take this time and extend a very heartfelt thank you, talking about from data analytics to branchless banking to tech enabled digital lending and different lending options for the startups. The session has been so fruitful, full of ideas, opinions, interactions. And this is something, yes, we actually, Westford, we have always seen in our classes too, very insightful, very discussion oriented. And you have just ignited the minds again to think on the technology part included in finance. Once again, thank you so much to you. Thank you to all our audience for logging in. Make sure you all are with us in all the upcoming series during the time of pandemic so that we make a learning remark in much deeper way. Thank you, Ms. Raja. Thank you for your time so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very
Thank you, everybody. Good day.
much. Thank you.